Hello everyone, back tuning into today's third and final video. We're going to do Ensembles Watch for today's third and final video. So we're going to go through all members of the GFS Ensembles, see what they're showing through the first week or so of January. We know again the sudden stratospheric warming that's occurring across Russia in the stratosphere right now, and we'll move into the North Pole over Christmas. And so we're going to start looking for a tropospheric response in the next few weeks. And so we'll just go through the GFS ensembles in the extended range of these ensembles, see whether there are any colder scenarios showing up, and if there are, how many of them are going colder into January. It's very early days to be expecting a tropospheric response to this stratospheric warming, though. It'll probably be more like early January, but we might start seeing it within the model output, and then maybe towards mid-January, when we might actually start getting some proper blocking. But let's have a look and see what the ensembles are showing. I haven't been through them myself, so I don't know what they're going to show tonight. So I'm going to do that very shortly. Just to say that today's two other videos, so the first video we released was a week to 10 day video update. That's got all of the latest on the stratosphere, what's going on there, and also the weather going up towards the new year as well. And then, excuse me, and then we also released the GWV and Meteo France seasonal model update. So that is going through the next few months with the GWV, Meteo France, and also the DWD German model. We've added that in to that one as well. So check out those two videos if you would like to do that. I'll talk about what's coming up over Christmas at the end of this video. So we're going to start off with the operational GFS run, first of all. So we're going to begin on New Year's Eve, and this is how the operational midday run of the GFS is looking. We're at westcentral.d, by the way. So we've got high pressure down to our south for New Year's Eve, building up this ridge into the UK, although it's probably a weak weather front, bringing rain to central parts of the country. Moving through, so what happens during the first week of January with the latest operational GFS running? So we just keep high pressure going to the south, low pressure with those purple colours to the north. So really strong polar vortex actually setting up around Greenland and Iceland. When those purple colours appear, it usually means you're in for a bit of stormy weather. And generally flat and westerly with the operational GFS run going up to the 8th of January, up to the first week of January. We're looking generally mild but also unsettled with those west-southwesterly winds on this latest GFS operational midday run. So let's see how that compares with the rest of the GFS ensemble. So we're going to look at the control first of all. So this is this run is at a slightly lower resolution compared to the operational GFS run, but it's at a higher resolution compared to all other GFS ensemble members. That's how we look on New Year's Eve, with high pressure down to our southwest and pretty mild with wind coming up from a west or southwesterly direction. Running through into the first week of January then, we have high pressure down to our south, so we maintain a westerly flow, although we do start trying to build a ridge up over Scandinavia here as we're going into the last stage of the first week of January. We've definitely got a Scandinavian high appearing, and a very active Atlantic as well. Areas of low pressure coming in across the country, bringing heavy outbreaks of rain, and stalling to some degree as they come up against that Scandinavian high that's trying to get going to our northeast. That's how we finish up with the control GFS run, and it looks pretty stormy, very deep area of low pressure out to west. That Scandinavian high is still lurking to some degree to our northeast, but it wasn't really able to get a foothold. Right, so this is ensemble member number 1, and we've got high pressure down to our south and southwest on New Year's Eve, and then as we go through to New Year's Day, we find that high pressure is maintained to our south. It is trying to ridge through the country, but ridge up towards Scandinavia as we go through the first week of January. That's proper wet and windy stuff there on the 5th of January, but a high pressure is attempting to build over Scandinavia, and it looks like it's actually starting to win the battle here on the 7th of January. This low pressure begins to slide away away to our south, and that was turning increasingly blocked, both over Scandinavia, but also to some degree towards Greenland as well. So that was trying to turn things cold. Ensemble member number 1 through the first week of January. Ensemble member number 2 starts off with high pressure close to the country on New Year's Eve. That's still there on New Year's Day as well. And then we go through the first week of January, and it starts to look like this. So this one, not going to get the high pressure up to Scandinavia. This one's just going to keep high pressure to our south. So generally quite mild through the first week of January, with a lot of dry and settled weather up to the 8th of January. Ensemble member number 2 has high pressure down to our south on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So looking pretty mild there as we're going into the first week of January. Eventually we start to move this high pressure a little bit further north. We're pulling cold northerly winds down into Scandinavia and much of central northern Europe, but we're on the periphery of that, under the ridge of high pressure. That's how we finish up Ensemble member 2. Never really gets cold, but there is some very deep cold air lurking just to our north and east on the other side of the North Sea. So that's a near miss cold ensemble member. This is ensemble member number 4, and it's showing high pressure to be sitting to our south and low pressure to the north around the New Year period. Then we go through the first week of January with ensemble member number 4, and high pressure just sits over top of the country. That's a very dry anticyclonic ensemble member. That's probably giving frost and fog, but not true Arctic cold conditions. As we go further out towards the end of this ensemble member, we start to move high pressure a little bit to our west. We're on the periphery of very cold air again. Notice this northerly wind is plunging down there through Scandinavia into central parts of Europe. We're just on the edge of it. So that one's certainly turning a lot colder for northern Europe, not quite reaching us within the time frame of that ensemble member up to the 8th of January. This ensemble member number 5, just a little bit more unsettled, actually, this one for New Year's Eve, but very quickly we get back to the same sort of pattern, which is high pressure sitting just to our southwest as we go into the first week of January. And we go further on through the first week of January, and it's looking very unsettled. Low pressure is deepening in the Atlantic, bringing wet and windy weather into the UK, so that's just a very unsettled ensemble member. Lots of wet and windy weather through the first week of January with ensemble member number 5. This is ensemble member number 6 with high pressure again down to our south and southwest as we're running through the first days of the year. High pressure starts to pull out to our west, so again we're just on the edge of a cold northerly plunge that's sinking through Scandinavia, central parts of Europe here through the first days of the new year. That's definitely a recurring theme, actually, this northerly plunge. Already we can say that is a recurring theme within the GFS ensembles, but we're on the edge of it. The high pressure remains close to us as we're going further into this first week of January. That's how we finish up. High pressure just out to the west of us, and again we are very much on the edge of quite a big cold plunge that is sinking through Scandinavia and many central and northern parts of Europe. Just a slight adjustment to this ridge will start opening the door to those very cold northerly winds. Ensemble member number 7 has high pressure just to our southwest on the at the new year, and then we go through the first week of January and we find that high pressure pulling out to the west of us. So again, another ensemble member that's bringing a real plunge of cold air down into Scandinavia and many central parts of Europe. We're just on the periphery of that, again with ensemble member number 7. That's how we finish up. It never gets any cold air to us. Actually, we finish up quite mild with a westerly flow. Ensemble member number 8 with high pressure over the top of the UK for the new year, and that high pressure continues as we go through this first week of January. Now, you notice this one's very interesting. So it's building up a ridge of high pressure over Scandinavia. It's taking our high pressure to that ridge. So this is turning winds into the east or into the northeast there, we do get a little bit of a northeasterly or easterly push from that area of high pressure before it eventually just starts sinking back southwards again as we go towards the end of the first week of January. And after that easterly outbreak, but only last couple of days, we finish up back in a westerly and low pressure dominated zone. So that's quite a bizarre ensemble member, number 8. Number 9 with the high pressure just to our south at the new year. And then as we go through the opening days of January 2019, we just keep that high pressure sitting very, very close to the country. But it does start to pull out towards Greenland as we go further on through this first week of January. Do get a swipe of cold air from the north and northeast there on the 6th through to the 7th of January. And then we finish up like that with the high pressure. Again, it's in the middle of the Atlantic. And we start to bring down this low pressure from the northwest. So if we could roll on another day or so, we'd probably find that low pressure moving east-southeast and turning us into a cold northerly wind. Ensemble member number 10 looks like that with high pressure just to our south at the new year. And this one, it looks like it's keeping things pretty flat, pretty westerly with low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. So this is kind of like in line with what the operational GFS was showing this evening. Just wet and windy weather areas of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, increasingly unsettled and mild through the first week of January. Ensemble member number 11 has us in a bit of a northerly wind on New Year's Eve. We haven't seen that much, but still the same sort of idea really with high pressure close to the country. We go through to running through the first week of January. We have that high pressure just out to our west. This is another one that's bringing very cold air into Scandinavia and northern parts of Europe with us just on the periphery of that. As we get through to the end of the first week of January, it is actually starting to turn things much colder, this one. Number 11 turns us properly cold. We bring down proper northerly winds and we're setting up a bit of a blocking feature to the south of Greenland. Whether that will go north and sit over Greenland as a proper northern blocking feature, I'm not sure, but certainly that one is turning things much colder by the end of the first week of January with those northerly winds. This is ensemble member number 12 with high pressure just to our southwest over the new year, and as we go through the first week of January, keep that high pressure very, very close to us. So dry, settled conditions through the first week of January. Probably frost and fog with that, with no real Arctic air or Siberian air brought to us before the end of the first week of January. That is ensemble member number 13, and it has us in a north to northwesterly wind for New Year's Eve. High pressure then is sitting close to the country as we go through this first week of January, probably bringing more frost and fog with ensemble member number 13. And again, we just stays very high pressure dominated, high pressure close to the country, a little bit more unsettled for the north and west by the end of the first week of January. Basically, it's high pressure all the way. This is ensemble member number 14. Again, it looks unsettled as we're going through this first week of January. Lots and lots of high pressure influences. Another one that's putting down very cold air into Scandinavia and northern Europe with this trough of low pressure, and we're on the periphery of it, and potentially this one is setting up a bit of a blocking feature around Greenland and Iceland, so we do start to bring colder air down from the north and the northeast with this ensemble member. That's a colder option, definitely. Number 14 does bring us some pretty cold northerly winds through the first week of January. Ensemble member number 15 with high pressure just to our west-southwest as we're going into the new year, and then we get this push of winds from the north through the first days of January, so that one's a colder option in the opening days of January. High pressure remaining just to our south-southwest to the end of the first week of January. Looks like if we could run on another day, we'd probably bring down a cold northerly wind with this area of low pressure heading in towards Norway. Ensemble member number 16, high pressure dominating for the new year. Lots of dry and settled weather on offer for the new year, and that continues through the first week of January as well, until we take that high pressure to our west on the 5th of January. Start to pull down very cold air from the north. Let's see what's going to happen with this one. This one's going to go quite severe. So this is bringing down a real northerly blast with this area of low pressure over Norway. And just follow the isobars back, see how far north that area is coming from there. Let's look at the upper air temperatures with that one. So that's how they're looking. Really cold air pushing down from the north, -10°C. Isotherm is actually getting involved and heading our way on that gale force, maybe severe gale force, northerly winds. So that's a very interesting one indeed. Ensemble member number 16 will bring lots of heavy snow southwards on those northerly winds, and be bitterly cold as well. This is ensemble member number 17 with high pressure, again very close to the country for the new year. And then as we run through the first week of January, we're going to keep that high pressure close to the UK. Where is it going to go as we get to the end of the first week of January? So nowhere particularly interesting. We just keep things generally quite mild with that one, and the winds are in from the west. This is ensemble member number 18 with high pressure again dominating the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day period, and then we go through the first week of January. Keep that high pressure centre just a little bit to south of the country, so that one's keeping things pretty mild. We are having a go at putting down some cold air from the north, but just on the periphery of it. Generally that one is a mild but settled ensemble member. This is number 19. Ensemble member number 19 has high pressure just to our south for the new year. As we go through the first week of January, it's trying to get that high pressure up to Scandinavia, this one. So this one's trying to build a ridge over Scandinavia. Is it going to manage to do it? It gets very, very close to it around there. It gets very close to pulling in an easy wind, but it just doesn't quite come off, and so we just keep that high pressure close to us. A failed attempt at a Scandinavian high, but that's how we finish up on the 8th of January. Notice lots of heights still there to our east-northeast, so again another one that probably holds potential to build up that Scandinavian high if we could go on a few more days. And then finally for the GFS Ensembles, this is how ensemble member number 20 is looking. Again, it has high pressure just to the south of us on New Year's Eve, so it looks generally settled but mild for the new year. And then as we run through into the opening days of January, the first week of January, looking like that. Ensemble member number 20. So just lots of dry and settled weather with that one. No cold weather at all. Maybe starting to move some wind and rain in from off the Atlantic. The last thing I can show you is the parallel run. I don't think it will have updated fully yet. So that's how the parallel run is looking on day 10. So it's having a go at putting down some cold air from the north. It's actually having a go at getting that high pressure up to Scandinavia. So it does have a little attempt there to pull in some colder easy winds through the first week of January on the parallel GFS run. The low pressure areas are kept out to the west of us. And it looks like it's done a little bit more unsettled as far as we can go to 360 hours. Looks like beginning to establish that westerly flow. So, inconclusive really, but what we can say is that there's definitely several options on the table to turn things colder through the first week of January. There are several ensemble members there that are definitely trying to pull down really cold air into northern Europe. So it looks like if we don't get cold weather through the first week of January, it does look as though much of central northern Europe could get a blast of proper cold Arctic air. We may find ourselves on the periphery of it initially. Remember, this could be the first shot across the bows, if you like, from the north. So initially we might find ourselves on the periphery of it. We might not get too much from the initial push of cold air, but if this stratospheric warming does propagate down into the troposphere and start setting up blocking, then even if the initial push of cold northerlies kind of like just skirts us to our east and northeast, there will probably be several more attempts that may get increasingly severe as we go through January, if you see what I mean. So this could just be the first kind of like shot from the atmosphere, just telling us that something's happening, and it may well be a little bit later on, even if we miss this initial northerly plunge. It does look as though it could give some really cold weather to northern Europe. Even if we miss that, it may well be that we get through to middle of January and things could start turning a lot colder. But it could happen earlier than that. There are several ensemble members within that suite of ensembles that are pulling down proper cold air during the first week of January, so it could happen quite quickly, this, or we may have to wait a little bit longer. We shall see. So that's it for today's videos. Now, coming up over the Christmas period, we're going to have the weekend forecast tomorrow. As always on Christmas Eve, we do weekend forecast taking us from Christmas Eve to New Year, so that will be up tomorrow, and then on Christmas Day we've got the historic video I've already recorded. I think it's a pretty good watch. It's the historic video from the winter of 1968-1969 that encompasses a white Christmas from large parts of the country, had an unforecast snow event over Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and also a very cold and snowy February. And then on Boxing Day, we'll have a week to 10-day video update. Alright, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.